The stock market is a playground of capitalism that gives everyone a fair chance in a world that often feels biased, divided, and unequal. Every day, the stock market creates individuals who either strike it rich or suffer losses. But there is a third group of people whose mere existence is cursed by constant ups and downs. A similar fate was written for a regular office boy who became a Wall Street legend and ultimately, tragically took his own life. His triumphs and disasters are probably the most fascinating of any Wall Street story. This is a tale of Jesse Lauriston Livermore. "14-year-old Jesse was sad and frustrated because his father dropped him out of school to assist him in farming. With the support of his mother, the young boy fled his home to Boston. There, he secured employment as a board boy, posting stock quotes at a branch of Payne Weber brokerage. The job did not pay him a lot, but as he spent months writing the quotes on the board, he started noticing patterns in the stock price movements. After 1 year of practice, he starts placing his bets in bucket shops. Bucket shops were illegal operations that allowed gambling based on the prices of stocks or commodities. Jesse quickly rose to dominance in the bucket shops. He was feared by all the gamblers and was nicknamed the Boy Plunger. By the age of 20, he made $10,000 in profit. But with his growing popularity and wealth, he was eventually banned from all of the Boston bucket shops. This forced him to turn his attention to the bigger leagues and relocate to the city of endless opportunities, New York. Jesse's early days in New York City were volatile, as he had never traded in the actual stock market before. He went bankrupt for the first time and made money back in the bucket shops. Primarily, he was driving and losing a few sums of money. Now, this is where the story gets fascinating. The next events in his life are the most talked about. Jesse Livermore played a game of victories and tragedies, and the game had only one simple rule: victories get better and tragedies get worse each time. While on vacation in Palm Beach, Florida, Livermore sold short 5,000 shares of Union Pacific Railroad. The stock was popular and enjoying a great bull run upward, but Livermore saw the railway company's rush to raise capital as a cause of concern and a warning of tough times ahead. He continued to build his short position as he made his way back to New York. On the morning of April 18th, Jesse Livermore was sound asleep in his New York hotel room after a late return from Florida. Meanwhile, across the country in California, 2 devastating earthquakes struck the city of San Francisco. Early reports from the city suggested that hundreds have died. The stock market crashed, wiping out $1 billion in value. A few days later, the market hit its bottom and started to recover. But Livermore believed the newspapers were underreporting the tragedy. He quadrupled his short to 20,000 shares of Union Pacific, and his damage prediction turned out to be correct. The aftermath of the quake caused much greater destruction than its initial effects. The fire spread to most of San Francisco in the coming days. It is estimated that 80% of the city's buildings had been burnt to the ground, leaving 250,000 citizens homeless with more than 3,000 people dead. Livermore shocked the market again the next year by shorting it during a panic on Wall Street. He started receiving calls from America's biggest bankers like JP Morgan to close his positions and stabilize the markets. Thanks to the 2 straight spot-on forecasts, his fortune rose to $3 million and earned him entry into a new class of wealth. He bought beacons of luxury like a $200,000 yacht and an apartment on the Upper West Side. He joined exclusive clubs and had mistresses. However, his life suddenly decided to change the shifts and took a drastic U-turn. In 1908, Livermore came across Percy Thomas, aka the Cotton King. Percy had a fine reputation in commodities. He convinced Livermore that cotton prices were going to go up, leading Livermore to take many cotton long positions. Unfortunately, the price of cotton fell. Livermore sold his profitable position in other commodities, like wheat, to buy more cotton. This single trade cost Livermore 90% of his wealth and led to bankruptcy in 1915 after further trading losses. Years of work were undone, and he was back to square one. He started trading again on borrowed funds and turned into his largest fortune yet. But it was nothing compared to what was about to come. The greatest trade of Jesse Livermore was knocking at his door. In 1929, the stock market was a red-hot bubble that was expanding. Everyday retail investors were fully involved in the markets, parking most of their wealth in the cycle's hot stocks. Much like in the dot-com bubble, the leading stocks received unsustainable valuations, making the markets a potential time bomb waiting to go off. In the following weeks, the stock market experienced what has become known as the Great Depression of 1929, the most destructive stock market collapse in the history of the United States. The market saw a staggering 25% drop in just 2 days, followed by a record low of minus 89% in the years ahead. That day, Livermore returned home to his family, who were already panicking from the distressing news. Jesse, however, wore a smile and announced his greatest trade ever. That's right, he was secretly shorting the market for several months, using over 100 stockbrokers to cover his activities. Not only were they safe, but they were also richer than ever. His bet against the market paid off with a staggering $100 million in profits. The national newspapers began writing critical hit pieces on short sellers like Livermore. Following a series of newspaper articles declaring him the Great Bear of Wall Street, he was blamed for the crash by the public and received death threats, leading him to hire an armed bodyguard. Livermore, at its peak, was worth $100 million, which is $1.5 billion in today's money. Then why did he commit suicide? There are two important details I did not mention about Jesse in this video. Number one, his terrible personal life. Jesse Livermore was married 3 times and had 2 children. Livermore's first marriage ended during his first bankruptcy. His second marriage with Dorothy was damaged by her alcohol problem and Livermore's relationship with her co-workers. The divorce settlement awarded Dorothy custody of the children, along with millions of dollars in assets. Later, he married singer Harriet Noble. Livermore was her 5th husband, with at least 2 of her previous husbands having committed suicide. The second detail in Livermore's life is leverage. The main cause of his quick gains and losses in wealth was leverage trading. Livermore was addicted to taking very high leveraged bets, starting from his early days in the bucket shops. In 1934, the SEC imposed new rules that affected his trading. With his failing trades and deteriorating mental health, he went bankrupt for the 3rd time. Meanwhile, Livermore's second wife non-fatally shot his son and sold Livermore's family properties to maintain her lavish lifestyle, leading to a further decline in his mental health. On the evening of Thanksgiving Day 1940, Livermore fatally shot himself with an automatic Colt pistol at the Sherry Netherland Hotel in Manhattan, where he usually had cocktails. Police found a suicide note of 8 small handwritten pages. The note was addressed to Livermore's wife, Harriet, who Livermore nicknamed Nina, and it read, "My dear Nina, can't help it. Things have been bad with me. I am tired of fighting, can't carry on any longer. This is the only way out. I am unworthy of your life. I am a failure. I am truly sorry, but this is the only way out for me. Love, Lori."